the best time to become an entrepreneur is now. So wherever you are in your phase of life, it's now. Creation is the deeper sense of what an entrepreneur is. You are creating something from scratch. Do I believe God wants us to be successful? 100%. I think he wants us to have abundance and to share and to help others around us. You have to live an extraordinary life to get the extraordinary results. And so why do people expect wealth when you're not willing to make the sacrifices necessary?
There's no way I could add any more kids to this and be successful at building what I'm building and be a good dad and a good leader and grower of business. What are you saying to him?
On your deathbed, what are you going to care about most? The business that you built or the children that you raised? What are you what's really going to matter in your life? Is it the wealth that you created, even for generations of wealth? Or is it the investment into those kids that you brought into this world?
Bubba Page, you're a tough guy to define. You've got 8 kids.
I do.
You wear your spiritual beliefs right on your sleeve.
That's true.
You're an investor. You're a thought leader around investing and all sorts of different things and deals, and you're up to a lot. How do you define Bubba Page?
Okay, definition. I'm a son of God. So there's number one. I'm a father of 8, 4 boys, 4 girls. It is so much fun. I'm an entrepreneur turned investor, and I love being outdoors. So like, if I were to just sum it all up, like that's me. And I get to pretend to be a cowboy sometimes. So, wear some cowboy boots.
You're wearing cowboy boots, but I see you
hat.
running, extreme races, and you're extremely active. Those kind of the first time I saw you or met you, you were winning a dance competition with a couple of your girls.
Yeah.
You do a lot.
You know what? So it's called BYU Girl Dad Camp, where we first at. It's this weekend.
Yep.
So are you going to be there?
That's why I'm here.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Okay, we get to spend the weekend together. Yeah. That'd be amazing.
I want to touch on all of those.
Okay.
And the theme of this, or the title of the podcast. So we're a guest in Casey Boss Studio
today.
Of course,
this is beautiful.
Case studies.
I love it.
He's so generous to let us have there. He's one of my favorite people. But you said entrepreneur turn investor, and the podcast is called A Million Ways to Make $1 Million. And you've dabbled. You've been around a lot. Like, help dive into a little bit of the entrepreneur side that's allowed the investor to come out on you.
Yeah, let me give a pro tip to get started, if that's all right. So pro tip: there's this old book called Cashflow Quadrant, and Robert Kiyosaki, I think is how I pronounce it, right? And so it talked, if I remember right, it talks about 4 ways, like 4 different individuals in the workplace, and 2 of them are the best ways to create wealth. So you have an entrepreneur, business owner. You have an investor. Those are the 2 where you create wealth. You have somebody who's self-employed, and then an employee. So if you look at what an employee is, you get paid for the job. Typically, it's based on time. So you're getting paid on time. The self-employed, a lot of people would look at like dentists or lawyers. Look, they can make great money. But if their hands aren't in the mouth, they're not making any money, right? Now, if they're a partner at a law firm and they're getting paid from other people's work, then that's more of a business owner, right? So then they would fall into the business owner category. And then investors, obviously, you're taking your hard-earned money, putting it out to other people to make you more money. And as a business owner and as an investor, you can make money while you sleep if you do it right and hire the right people or invest in the right people. So I just gave this tip on a mentoring advisory call because somebody was trying to become an entrepreneur and I was trying to help them out. But if you remember, being employed is one way, self-employed, business owner, investor. I started as an entrepreneur in college, and I think that's one of the best times ever to start as an entrepreneur. So if you're young and you're doing the college thing,
low risk.
You've got no mortgage, you probably don't have children, and you have so many resources. People want to help you, and energy. You don't need as much sleep. But get started. Just do it, because the universities will help you. People, if you call somebody and say, hey, I have this new business idea, I'm a student, they'll talk to you. After college, nobody cares. And you're just another salesperson to them. But as a student, it's huge. But the best time to become an entrepreneur is now. So wherever you are in your phase of life, it's now. Being an entrepreneur to me is the ultimate guide to freedom, freedom of your time, freedom with finances, freedom to hopefully be who you truly are. Now it takes effort and time and energy up front, and you kind of have to sacrifice to get to the place of freedom. But I think it's safer even than getting a job, because you can get laid off anytime. If you have a job, it's up to your boss whether or not you stay or how much you earn. Anyway, started as an entrepreneur in college, sold my little bit of ownership to my partners after a couple of years. And it was enough for me to like get into a townhome and buy the wedding ring, pay off some school debt. But it wasn't like a massive win, but it was a win, which is awesome. One of the co-founders actually took like Entrepreneur of the Year, second place, third place, like at BYU, where we were at while we were running this thing. And then in 2009, I started an outsourced B2B like tech sales company and ended up selling that in 2020. The long story short is that I hired a CEO to run it in 2014. And so he was able to run the day-to-day, and I left to start a venture-backed software company. So I ended up raising venture, starting the software company, got accepted into an accelerator like Y Combinator. It's called Techstars. And ended up running that business for almost 3 years. It was like 2.5-ish years, and we had to shut it down. It didn't pan out like we thought. Talk about devastating. It was so hard to go through, so difficult, like painful, trying to even rediscover who I was at the time, because I was always labeled as the entrepreneur for so many years. To then have this failure, I was just devastated, almost to the point of feeling, I think I really did feel depression and anxiety for the first time in my entire life during that time frame. After taking kind of a year sabbatical, the CEO is still running the business and cash flowing for our family to be taken care of.
The original business.
The original business that was still
the B2B
going.
Yep.
I was still able to take a salary and taking care of the family that way from a financial standpoint. And so I took almost a year off, got my health back in order, had a spiritual awakening. Like for me, I felt like I came to know Jesus more than I had in the past. And it was like a rededication, almost like a rebirth. I'm so grateful for it, because it was almost like I now look back, and that failure was the catalyst for me to have that rebirth, that awakening. And I don't think I would have had it without it. So now I can be grateful for the failure, even though I had to go through hell. It was almost like that there's opposition in all things, where I had to go through this hellish experience to be able to see a light that I'd never seen before. And that's transformed, the next decade of my life, was that, and creating a new relationship with heaven that I didn't exactly have as deeply as before. And then I joined my now ex-wife in helping to build a bunch of consumer product type businesses and consumer education and consumer products around a social media following, mostly women.
Yeah.
And when my time there was done, I started, I had been investing in companies, just small angel investments. I had invested in my first fund called Peterson Ventures back in 2015. Brands like Cotopaxi are ones I'm invested in, Chatbooks, Allbirds, some of the ones that maybe some folks have heard about, Higher View, which ended up selling. That was my first like foray into writing a check into funds. And I loved it. And then I started writing, little angel checks into companies, like 25K here or 50K here kind of checks. And I loved it, because I felt like I could help them with some of my experience and background or connections, but then I was putting money to work, hopefully, that would create a return. And so then it was just a couple of years ago that I opened up Influence.vc. And that's where I can invite my friends to come along and invest with me when I choose to write a check. But it was because I was an entrepreneur and I was able to gain the financial freedom from being a business owner that allowed me to start writing checks as an investor. Yeah. And I'm still an entrepreneur first. Like I still consider myself more of an entrepreneur than an investor.
What's your definition of an entrepreneur?
Ooh. Okay. Definition of an entrepreneur. I'd say we're problem solvers. We're dreamers. And with dreamers, I'd say visionaries of what life could look like. And then you just got to go to work. So if there was a definition, I think for me, it's allowing yourself to be your own success story. And a lot of times it doesn't work. So
Maybe add a preface of resilience in there somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a book called Fail Fast. As an entrepreneur, if you can fail faster than other people, then you'll probably find something that works.
Yeah.
You just might have to go through a few iterations of what you're trying to build.
Yeah.
But I think there's something, okay, here's a better definition. Definition of an entrepreneur is you're a creator. And I know today's day and age is like creator means influencer. So let me redefine creator. I think it's a God-given divine role of being a creator. We create, we build. This is something that we were given before we came to this earth. I believe that God gifted us with the ability to create, every single one of us. That doesn't always mean everyone should be an entrepreneur, but I think we all have a gift of creation. And so if we have been given this divine gift to create, then it's something that God wants us to utilize. And so if that means you're an artist or you're beautiful at math and you can code incredible software, or you have the ability to rally people together and build a team, then you might try entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
But I think creation is the deeper sense of what an entrepreneur is. You are creating something from scratch. And that to me is really a God-given role and responsibility.
Yeah, I think I lumped creator and builder together.
Mm-hmm.
And when you describe it like that, that's not what I hear.
Mm-hmm.
Creator is something different than a builder. And I might have combined those two previously, but I love what you said there. Like you're bringing something together from scratch, and there might be some building involved there, but the dreamer, the visionary, I felt a lot of that when you said that.
Well, I look at it again, and maybe this is too spiritual in nature, but the way that I understand the world to be created was that it was created spiritually first. So in the Bible, it talks about this creation process, and in the heavens, they were creating the earth, and they created, they separated the heavens from the water and the earth, and there were animals, and then Adam and Eve came, but it was as if it was visualized first in more of a spiritual state before it was physically created. And if that's true, then in our Sunday planning, nod to case studies and Casey, because he's awesome at the Sunday planning.
Yeah, we talked about it this morning.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. In that planning process, you're able to visualize who you really can be. And I think we all put ourselves in a way that we limit, because of our own limiting beliefs, we limit our own potential. And I'm not going to say that like you visualize a Lamborghini and the next week you have a Lamborghini, but like if you can visualize yourself being as godly of a person as possible, you're kind, you're generous, you work hard, you're listening to the man upstairs when inspiration comes, and you're able to be guided through that life. That doesn't mean you won't have failure. I literally look at the business that failed and see that it was a godly task to get me to a place to have a deeper relationship with him. I almost believe that if I would have had that venture-backed software, if it would have succeeded, I maybe would have prolonged my ability or my depth of relationship with my maker. And I see God's hand in it now. Now, it was still a hell to go through, and I would wish I didn't. I got divorced last year, and I still would rather not go through that. I don't think anybody plans on divorce when you get married. And it was a hell of an experience, let's just say it that way. And I wouldn't want to go through that, but I can say that I'm grateful because, again, the depth of healing that I've had to go through and the look internally at myself, because you can't change anyone but yourself. So I had to look inward. I don't know if I would have done that without going through that hellish experience. So again, I look at that and say, when trials come, challenges come, I ask, what am I supposed to learn from this? Instead of blaming, I turn around and say, okay, get on my knees. What am I supposed to learn from this? Because this sucks and I don't want this. But there's got to be a deeper reason and a deeper meaning. And so that's like a deep part of my life. Yeah. That is part of my story, and I'm sticking to it.
of the journeys, let's call it from 2009 to 2020.
Yeah.
Which one had the most realization? Which one brought you the most income, generated the most wealth?
Yeah.
Of all those, what was the one for you?
Entrepreneurship, for sure.
Yeah.
So far, entrepreneurship versus investor, but it's just a timing issue, right? I may be 2 to 3 or 4 years out and say, oh, investments way overtook entrepreneurship.
And oftentimes there needs to be the cart before the horse. A little bit, you got to go and create the money to invest.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What was the business that generated the most income for you?
Yeah, so LaunchLeads, that's the one that I ended up selling and exiting in 2020.
Yeah.
That was the first big win, and big is relative. To me, it was a life-changing experience.
Yeah, no, you had one in college. Remember, you had a win, right? We were stacking them up.
That was a win, but also because it was more of a lifestyle business. So it wasn't just the exit value. It was that we were able to take a significant income every year. And that significant income, living responsibly, we only had to live off of a very small percentage of it. And so by living off a very small percentage of it, it allowed us to do things like invest in different properties or invest in different companies or, stack up the savings that lifestyle businesses are beautiful. And I think a lot of the sexiness today is go venture backed, build something software, scale like crazy and exit. And I'd like to help people rethink that for just a minute, because even though I do invest as a venture capitalist and I do invest in scalable software ventures primarily, whether it's consumer product or consumer tech, that's my focus. Lifestyle businesses for an entrepreneur, business owner, is one of the most beautiful things you can possibly have. If you have income coming in every single month because of the business you have, plus you have expenses that you can write off, you can potentially go on different trips to go to conferences and include part of that as an expense because you're at a conference and then you stay there for a vacation. There's so many benefits of owning a business that produces cash flow. And I'll give you a perspective about it. You know this, but for those that are listening, when you have an exit and you sell a business, your primary goal is to take those funds that you are now a steward over, and you go and deploy those funds to generate cash flow primarily, or investments. So what happens is you have this cash flow. Let's say it's $500,000 a year. You have this cash flow, $500,000 $1 a year that you're generating from your business. Now you've sold that business. You no longer have the $500,000 to $1 million a year in cash flow. So you have to go and generate $500,000 to $1 million in cash flow from investments. It's harder than it looks to do that. And so obviously you'd try to set up a diversified portfolio. You're not going to go all into just real estate or all into crypto or, all into a venture fund. So you do all of them. And some of them are longer term investments. They'd have zero cash flowing opportunities. Others have cash flow right away, which is beautiful. Some have some tax benefits. Some have so you build this plan to generate cash flow. But the reality is your business was generating that cash flow all along the way. And it is risky to have it all in one place, like just a singular business. But what we found is that when we had sufficient cash flow to start putting bets into different investments, that was the best of both worlds. Cash flowing in, from a business standpoint, and then building wealth from an investor standpoint. If you can do both, by all means, I think it's a phenomenal way to go. And it's what I love doing now. So I still even have another business that I'm building while I'm doing the investing. And and it's exciting because I'm passionate about it. I love it. I'm helping those that I invest in. But, I feel compelled to build something else. I'm a creator. I'm a builder, like you said. I don't know if I'll ever be able to stop. And to me, it feels like work, retirement to me is a foreign topic. Retirement and just sitting on a beach, to me that's not what I was sent here to do. But it also isn't to work 80-hour weeks and never be with my family. So for me, I look at how do I build the best lifestyle so that I can be as, what's the right word? I can be as present with my kids, my future spouse, that I can have the freedom to be with who I want to be with, doing the things that I want to be doing and building the things I want to build. That to me is like true freedom. And I know that God's put me here to not just go sit on a beach, on my own and meditate.
Yeah.
So that's an idea. And I think retirement is a unique word.
Well, in order to create enough to invest, I imagine you had to have some sort of principles, an equation you followed or anything like that. What would you say to somebody that is now generating, let me rephrase that. What would you say to somebody that is now generating a good amount of income as a result of the business they've built to follow an equation or something like that allows leftover to go and invest?
Yeah.
Are you tracking with that question? Like I'm trying to think of
you're good.
You're now making enough money in the business to give yourself a healthy salary. What rules or principles are you following to allow yourself to have money left over to go and invest and grow?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, minimum basis, live under 70% of your income.
70.
Minimum. If you can be at 50 or even 20, like by all means live. Here's the thing. If you're new into this you're generating income, you're new, don't keep up with the Joneses. That's the worst thing that you can do. To go and buy that massive house and go buy a supercar and go, to me, that's totally irresponsible of being a true steward over what God's given you as a gift. It's not yours anyway, right? It's his. So what does he want you to do with that? And, to me, you start with emergency funds. So this is the base, just like, okay, you now have a little bit extra. You should have 6 months minimum emergency funds. I would recommend a full year of emergency funds. Cash, totally liquid in a high interest savings account. That's it. So look at your expenses in an emergency-based scenario. If you're living off of 10 grand a month, let's say today, then you want to have around 100 grand in your bank account, pure outright, just you're not going to touch it. In an emergency scenario, you're probably not going to live fully off of your full 10K, whatever. And so use that as a principal base. So emergency funds, first thing, got to have. Once the emergency funds are taken care of, then you want to be able to build up, in my opinion, you're looking at what type of investments will give you some security. Depending on your age, you may look at your risk profile. I'm 42, just turned 42, and I still feel like I'm pretty risky in my investments. I don't like having low risk investments all the time. I like to have risk. I think that's maybe the confidence that I have in myself of being, if I lost it, I can go build something again. But you got to look at your own risk profile. When I make investments, I don't sit there every day and look at the returns, or I don't look at the stock markets or the crypto markets. To me, I've made the investment. I'm going to stick with it, and it's a long-term bet because compound interest is your friend. So I think there's, you're putting money in the market, you're putting money into real estate, not just, your primary residence is not what I would consider your investment property. So you're looking at outside of your own primary residence. I have been a fan of investing in oil. That's been a beautiful experience for me from a tax benefit and a cash flow benefit. Venture capital to me should never be more than 10% of your portfolio. And so that means in the funds that you're investing in or individual angel investments, never exceed 10% of your net worth. So be very careful if you're early into this world. Like if you're just now making 300 grand a year and you're living off of 150 and you've got 150 left, you probably should not be making angel investments because the likelihood of your success with an angel investment is so low.
Yeah.
And that one that you could have got, that you look in the rearview mirror, I mean, it's just so risky.
Someone recently described it to me as, with those type of investments, you're going to lose on 50%. I mean, you lose everything.
At least.
You hope that you get your money back on 30% of them.
Yeah.
It leaves you with 3 left. 1 does okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully one of those is like a big hit, and then there's one left that's kind of the wild card in between, somewhere.
You hope
like,
you get one.
You gotta have some tolerance to failure, and I would agree, it wouldn't be wise to put
not if you're new.
all of your eggs in that basket.
No, it's exciting, and you want to do it, especially because it's like, oh, it's your buddy, and he's building this business. You want to join and help him. Just pare it down, right? Can you put in 10 grand and like try that out and spread that across 10 different companies? Because then it's, hey, that's 100 grand, it's still a lot. But look, most angel investors don't make a return until they've invested in over 20 companies. So that's why a lot of people turn to a fund. Now you have fees and carry that you have to pay for. But, my very first investment was into a fund. And so that was a Peterson Ventures fund. And, I'll so far it's like a 5x return, but that was 10 years ago. And I didn't get any cash flow along the way. It's a 5x return. And 3 of those companies haven't even exited yet. So it will most likely be an 8 to 10x return. But that's a 10-year window where your money is not getting you anything in return for the most part, right? They did, to be honest, or to be fair, they did have some cash dividends when businesses sold. But anyway, okay, so early entrepreneur, you're setting up a diversified set. You should be, in my opinion, probably heavier in real estate. I think you'd still need to be in the market, even though I know our generation probably hates the market a lot of times, because I know I watch my parents get pounded in the market. But if you look at the past 15 years, it's been nothing but up. Anybody who put anything in the market, for the most part, has made money in the last 15 years. And so I know a lot of financial advisors are saying they're champions. Look, anybody has made money in the market for the most part in the last 15 years. But I just look at diversified portfolio. What does that look like for me? So I'm involved in venture. I'm involved in PE, private equity. I'm involved in my own angel investments with funds. Real estate is important to me. Oil is important to me. Those are like 2 of the larger functions that I've invested in. At the market itself, I've invested in crypto. I would say, people may hate on this, but like venture capital, you should probably have 5 to 10% max of your net worth in there. Now the crypto billionaires are probably laughing at me for saying that. I'm just trying to create an overall success story and not just betting on one. But a lot of people have bet on one thing and have done phenomenally well with it.
Yeah, tell me that. Bubba, you're spread out, and you've got one side of the coin that's saying diversify appropriately.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that philosophy served you.
It's worked well for me. I mean, but could I say, some of my friends who put all of their money into crypto and now they have tens of millions of dollars in crypto and I don't, they won. And from a financial standpoint, right? They saw something I didn't see. I got in 2018, Bitcoin was at $6,200. So I put in cash and I just let it ride. But I didn't, I put in 30 grand at the time. I didn't put in 3 million. And, my financial story would be a lot different if I put in 3 million back then, right?
Yeah.
But I think if you're my friend and I'm giving advice to my friend, I would give the diversified side of things. Now, as a business owner, I think you go all in on the business and you focus on the business instead of having your diversified businesses. I think you go all in as an entrepreneur on that one business to give it all the focus you can.
Yeah.
But when you're investing, if you are a business owner and you're investing, you have to realize how much risk you have in your business. Because at any moment, some macroeconomic change could happen and that business may not be supporting you as it was. So if your business is highly risky, then you would look at your portfolio over here from investments and you may make it less risky and have it more diversified.
Yeah.
That's my view. But there's a lot smarter people out there, talking about investments.
This is just how I've done it. We're not talking to them right now. We're talking to you. We want people to have an insight into what you're looking at.
Yeah, that's the way I look at it for sure.
I'm curious on where online presence influenced all of this or had an impact on any of the wealth that you're creating.
Yeah, for
Did
sure.
you take the kind of the common, like, let's call it maybe like an Alex Hermosi style, where it was like, man, if I had a following that I could plug an offer in, a value to, like, that'd be really amazing? Or did you have something and then as a whole it grew? Like, where did social media play into this dynamic of, I'll just call it what it is. Like, you've said some things that sound not very like 2024, 2025-ish. Like, your principles, my dad might have taught me in 1992.
Yeah.
You know, around, hey, listen, I don't think it's good to carry risky debt. I think it's important to have an emergency fund. I think that you'd want to diversify appropriately. Like, yes, you could have a bigger return, but we're base hits and it will serve you long time. Stay consistent, stay steady. But there's this impact of this new age social media that had a presence in your life for a while.
Yeah, let me hit on the maybe older standards first, and then I'll dive into social media. To me, I think there's some fundamental financial basics that I abide by, and I don't love debt, so I am the kind of person who doesn't leverage my debt.
Period.
For more investments.
Period. Or are you, there's there's a conversation around good debt and bad debt. What I heard you say is, I don't love debt.
I don't love debt, period. I mean, that's just my standpoint.
Yeah.
I pay off my homes. People think I'm crazy, right?
Oh, yeah.
But like, I pay on my primary residences. I pay off my cabin. To me, it is a peace of mind and almost like an insurance policy that I'm not beholden to my cash flow coming from a risky business or risky investments to cover my nut.
Yeah.
I want to be able to place capital in a place that gives security and lifestyle.
Yeah.
So for me, lifestyle doesn't mean yachts and beautiful cars.
Yeah.
To me, lifestyle, like we've talked about, is financial freedom to be with who you want to be with, doing what you want to do, where you want to do it. And that is, for me, family, right? And close friends.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to be more conservative in nature. I drive a Tesla. It's a great car. It's not a Lambo, right? Do I think those are fun? And there's no shame in owning that, right? I think it's also a percentage of, somebody, that works close here to this building. For them to spend $500,000 on a car is like me spending $50,000 on a car from their net worth standpoint. And so it's not a big deal for them to spend $500,000 or even $1 million on a car, because that would be like me spending $50,000 to $100,000 on a car.
Yeah.
I'm okay to do that. And so there's a perspective, and I didn't know this as a younger person. I didn't realize that when I wrote my initial $25,000 checks as an angel, and somebody else came in and wrote $250,000 checks as an angel, I was like, how is that possible? Like, what? It's just a number of their net worth. Like, it's just a percentage they're basing it off of, and no judgment at all. If you have a private jet, no judgment. I'm not judging, because it's just a percentage of your net worth. I don't have a private jet, right? And would I love one? That would be fantastic. I'd probably be able to do more with my family more often, but I'm not there yet. And so, but I know there's judgment that comes from outside sometimes when people see a certain car, a certain house, or a certain whatever lifestyle. But just realize, like, if their net worth matches, then there's nothing wrong with it. Mm. I just have chosen to not leverage debt, for example, because of my risk profile. I say that I'm risky, but maybe I should calm that down a little bit if I'm paying off all my debts.
Yeah. Well, can we dance on that a little bit?
Let's
I
do
think
it.
this is valuable for someone.
Influence
We're
stuff.
starting a financial series right now.
Oh, I love it.
Okay. And the financial series is just value driven. I'm not coming from a standpoint of saying you should do one or the other. I want you to hear what maybe two options are and find alignment for whatever works for you. But I want to find as many examples as I can of people doing it one way and people doing it the other way. Yeah. And I'm not taking, hey, this is the winner's side, by the way. Just a heads up. Here's the answer to the test. No, it's, listen, I think that when you pay off an asset, it's the sleep well at night factor.
Yeah.
Right. And then listen, you might lose an argument, quote unquote, lose an argument to someone saying, well, if you would have done this, it could have been this. And like, listen, that's not what I want to get to. I want to get to alignment. And I think alignment drives a lot of peace. And when you're at peace, you have extra energy. And when you have extra energy, you can create at a higher volume. And when you can create at a higher volume, you have more opportunities. And so I don't think, I don't have a belief system that there's a right and a wrong way to do it. I love alignment. And when I think people are in alignment, magic can happen.
For sure.
So can we dance on that a little bit?
Totally.
You mind?
Let's do it.
What would you call the largest real estate asset that you paid off free and clear that someone else might have had traditional debt on?
The cabin, for sure.
The cabin.
It's a commercial property, 20 bedrooms, 22 bathrooms, 75 acres. It was an old dude ranch. And so it was a beautiful asset that still owned free and clear. And most people would have ridden that. I mean, we had a super small interest rate. It was below 4%, something like that.
Yeah. Do you give a ballpark figure, or would you be okay with giving like what that value of that ranch is? Like if you wanted to go get a refi on it.
Yeah. So right now the value of the asset is about $3 million.
Okay.
And so for us, paid it off, and it was the peace of mind of knowing that that asset is paid for free and clear. To me, it was also a principle of, if I couldn't pay for it. Now look, we got a loan for it up front, and then paid it off in, I think it was 2.5 years.
That oftentimes aligns for people. Like, listen, that's a much longer road if it's like, I'm not buying it unless I can buy it cash.
Yeah.
Or some people say, don't buy it if you can't buy it twice, or whatever the philosophy is. But oftentimes people use that as a dangling carrot.
Yeah.
The opportunity came, I'm going to buy it, but now I'm going to check off a certain amount of, check marks to get that thing paid off.
Well, what I worry is that if people buy an asset like that, or they buy the nice car, if they're not able to maintain it, update it, deal with problems that inevitably come, and they're worried financially about that asset because they stretch themselves too much, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Right? Because look, you can go buy the nice car, but you forgot that probably 10% a year of the value of that car is going into maintenance.
Yeah.
And if you can't afford that, you probably shouldn't have bought the car in the first place.
Yeah.
And so with a property like this, there's going to be maintenance all the time. It's out in the middle of nowhere in the mountains of Utah, and it's this beautiful place, but every year guaranteed there's something worth 50 grand that we're going to be updating, renovating, modifying, and doing.
Does it generate any income for you?
We have done retreats, reunions, things like that, so it can.
No, but like on a consistent basis.
No. We've chosen to just use it primarily for family friends.
Okay, so you've got a $3 million asset. Let's say you went and refied it, and the bank was willing to let you pull out $2 million at some sort of a reasonable interest rate.
Yeah.
Now you've got $2 million, and you can go put $2 million and you pick a number. What's a
10% return.
Hey, fancy enough. We've got a fund that gives a 10% compounded annual return right over here. It's generating at 10% at $2 million.
Yeah. Is
generating $200,000 a year. Now you've got a mortgage over here of $2 million. So that's going to eat into it. So let's just call it $100,000 of net profit that could come in. Aren't you the steady Eddie? Like, hey, what I could do with $100,000 that would allow me to go and put, 5 different checks or 4 different checks at $25,000 into these companies. And I still have my ranch where I can get the memories. Maybe I only do half of that and I keep $50,000 for the maintenance that's inevitably going to come, or the upgrades. What's the other side to that? Yeah. Like, where are you finding alignment in that temptation to go yank out $2 million and go put it to work somewhere?
Peace of mind.
Yeah.
So I understand that there's always risk in any investment.
Yeah.
And there can be guaranteed, funds, or this is what we've done for 10 or 15 years. But when it's something like a cabin, for me, the peace of mind of having that free and clear is incredible. To me, that's freedom.
Go upstream a little bit. Mm-hmm. Why? Do you have someone lose everything and you saw the hard times that they went through, or is it the peace of mind of like, that is my savings account, which is as good as a return or whatever it may be. And by the way, that real estate might be a little bit more liquid than the $2 million into a fund environment that might take 7 years to realize, or whatever it may be. Like, what's the upstream version of peace of mind for you? Like, where did peace of mind become important to you?
It's interesting because my family growing up, we didn't have any type of investments like that. I didn't have entrepreneurs in my family. This is all new territory. And so knowing that I'm the black sheep of the family already by being an entrepreneur and now investor, for me, I think it was just the core principles, and probably from my religious upbringing of, debt is something to avoid. When you can, debt is something to get paid off. If it's necessary for your primary home or for schooling, that was kind of the set structure where debt was okay. But the idea of getting that paid down and paid off as quickly as you can was an important principle to me that stuck with me.
Who
so
taught
that's
it to you?
an old school. Well, I would consider him to be a prophet of God. And so, Gordon Hinckley
So
was
someone
a big
of
one.
influence
Yeah,
said something to you that aligned.
yeah.
Hey, listen, it's okay if you're going to buy the home. It's, kind of a, what would you call that? What category would you put that in? Necessary debt
Sure.
in some instances,
Yeah.
but the cabin's not necessary debt.
No,
That's a different category.
Yeah, to me, the cabin is if you can't pay it off with funds that are in your bank account or within a very reasonable amount of time, I probably wouldn't have done it. If it was something that I kept a 30-year mortgage on because I had to, I wouldn't have done it. We wouldn't have made that bet on the real estate. For me, it's this deep conviction of knowing that type of asset is paid off. It's like a boat. If I'm going to go buy a boat today, I'm not going to get a loan on a boat. I'm just going to pay cash for it. And now, could I have taken that money from the boat, $200,000 boat? Could I have gone and got a loan on it for 5 or 6%? And could I have gone and earned 10%, in an investment from it? Absolutely. But to me, I think this is just me, and no judgment for anybody who's doing it differently. For me, having the ability to pay cash for a toy, an unnecessary, object, I feel more comfortable knowing that I'm financially secure that way, rather than betting on the investment to pay out. And if the investment doesn't, which investments don't always pan out 100% of the time, I've lost plenty of money across my tenure as an investor, then you're not sprinting around trying to figure out how you're going to make ends meet. I've watched too many of my friends, and maybe it's the idea of having gone through 2008, 2009. I wasn't in a bad financial place then. I was so new into my marriage at the time and into my workings. I had just graduated college a couple years earlier, that I watched so many people go through hell financially. They were overextended. They were leveraging everything. They had one real estate that would leverage into 5 other real estate that would leverage into this, into that. And maybe it's that kind of trauma that I watched from other people that helped me determine I don't need that in my life. I don't need that stress in my life. I'd rather be peaceful, have time to spend with my kids without the stress of that leverage. And that makes me happy. And so if that brings me joy and I'm able to live the lifestyle still that I love, but I didn't leverage it into a jet because I could leverage different real estate or different stock portfolios or whatever to get the jet, I'm okay with that. I can still fly on Delta.
Yeah, you've got a jet sitting on a bunch of acreage right now.
That's right.
Doing just fine.
Yeah. Helicopter would be fun though. So maybe one day.
Yeah. I've heard.
I know.
I appreciate that.
Maybe controversial, but
my goal on this platform is to find a million ways to make $1 million. And I don't want to just interview a bunch of people that are finance guys or real estate guys or investors or entrepreneurs. Like, I want to find it all. And some of the beauty in that is seeing that there's not just one way to achieve whatever you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
It's as accessible as ever. And I wanted to push on you and play devil's advocate a little bit because I don't think I'm the first. I'd find it really hard pressed if I was the first person that said to you, what are you doing? Like, do you know what you can do with $2 million? And that's only $2 million. Go take 2.7 million out, and your mortgage is only going to be this and your investments are going to cover. And only if you have a 70% success rate, you're still going to, and we could do all this math.
Yeah.
That might ring true on paper.
For sure.
And
Yeah.
what I would have people take away from that is that there's a certain benefit in sleeping well at night. And I think that you can have a mixture of both. I think you can do both. I think you can, and certain goals that might align for you. Now, there might be people that can get to the exact same destination a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
There's also some tortoise in the hare. Like there might be some nap periods or reverse periods in that too, and you've chosen a path that what I would call steady Eddie and consistent and disciplined. And yeah, there's a certain benefit that can come along with that. And I have a real belief in debt, and it's really hard to argue with alignment.
And that's a beautiful part about, look, there's no judgment. There's so many ways to get there.
Yes.
And, I watched a really good friend of mine. We've known each other almost 20 years. And we were on these different, we were traveling at the same time, but on different paths. And he was an employee making phenomenal money as a salesperson and just killing it, right? And I was an entrepreneur. And I was not killing it in the beginning, right? Barely making ends meet, figuring out the business. And as we started down the line, a few years later, we were making about the same amount, even though he was an employee and I was an entrepreneur. But I was building an asset and he was still an employee. But what he did was he took the additional funds that he didn't need to live off of, he started investing. So I was the business owner. He turned into an investor. And from a net worth standpoint, it was beautiful to watch our paths that were totally different and unique end up in a very similar place. And now, guess what? It's hilarious. Now he's the entrepreneur. And now I'm the investor. I invested in his business. And we both invest and we co-invest all the time together. But it was so fun for us to go to lunch almost every month and be able to discuss, all right, how are you doing this? And it was this unique path to the same financial freedom. They just had their 7th kid, by the way. And so it's like we put our families together, 15 kids between us is absolutely insane. And it's one of the most beautiful things ever. And, this isn't necessarily a promotion to go have more kids, but it's a beautiful thing to be able to have children, to raise them right the best way you can, and to be able to provide a phenomenal lifestyle for them. And for me, the peace of mind of putting my money into solid investments, potentially with less risk than maybe the leverage game, that just sits right with me. And I've got friends doing all the other elements and aspects of it. And for sure, some have made it hit it bigger faster. But I know that they respect me in my path and I respect them in their path. And there's no judgment one way or another. I think there's plenty of ways to get there. I'm comfortable with the way I've done mine. Yeah. And it still stretches me and pushes me in ways that is healthy, I think.
What if someone said to you, Bubba, I have 2 kids and I'm trying to start this business. There's no way I could add any more kids to this and be successful at building what I'm building and be a good dad and a good leader and grower of business. What are you saying to them?
You'll never ask for a child to go back. If you bring a child into this world, there's no way that you would ever ask for it to go back.
Yeah, but how can I be a good dad to 6 kids, to 4 kids, to 8 kids while I've taken on the journey of entrepreneurship and building a business? How do I possibly do both?
I may get hate for this, but on your deathbed, what are you going to care about most? The business that you built or the children that you raised? What are you what's really going to matter in your life? Is it the wealth that you created, even for generations of wealth? Or is it the investment into those kids that you brought into this world? How Will You Measure Your Life by Clayton Christensen. Mm-hmm. Phenomenal book, highly recommend it. It puts into perspective what truly matters. Why are we really here on this earth? Do I believe God wants us to be successful? 100%. I think he wants us to have abundance and to share and to help others around us. What I think that he has given us more direction is being a father and a mother is the greatest gift. Coming here, receiving a body, being a father and a mother, there is no greater gift. And so if I did it all over again and I had to choose between 8 kids or financial freedom and prosperity, 8 kids all day long. For me, there's a greater purpose in life than just creating wealth.
Do you have a couple tricks or pro tips on someone that is looking to make sure that they're a present parent as well as balancing the demands of growing a business?
Yeah. Yes. So I'm actually in the process of writing a book. There's a principle.
Heard it here first. The spoiler alert right here. Let's hear one of the key takeaways.
So fatherhood movement is kind of this concept that I've been brewing. And a main part of that is called the father operating system. There's an entrepreneur operating system. There's operating systems all, through business. The way that I've built this father operating system is running a family more like you would run a business, with the same intentionality, the same time, the same effort that you put in your startup, even similar structures, one-on-ones, KPIs, metrics to follow, offsites, conferences. If you can run your family as intentionally as you run your startup or your business, think about how successful it can be. If you're doing one-on-ones with your employees, why aren't you doing it with your kids? If you're doing conferences with your team and your employees, why aren't you doing it with your kids? If you're reading books about startups and investing and entrepreneurship, why aren't you reading books about raising kids and marriage and your relationships? Are we going to spend more time during the day working? Yes. I do believe, again, that's a God-given right. Work is a good thing for us to do. Do I believe that working more than 50 plus hours a week is healthy for you and your family and your own health? No, I don't. And I think an entrepreneur who has more balance in his life will have a happier, more joyful life than somebody who's putting in 100-hour weeks. Now, could that 100-hour week person, Elon Musk, for example, he talks about working crazy intense hours. Could you see more success from a financial perspective? Yeah, probably. If you're working twice the amount of hours that I work, you will more likely have better financial success. But you also may have 4 or 5 spouses like he does, and children with all of those spouses, and a life that may be a little messy. Elon Musk is a genius, Midas touch kind of a guy. I'll invest in every business he starts because it's insane what he can accomplish from a business standpoint. But I feel sad from a relationship standpoint of how that's led his life. Now, all respect in the world. I mean, the guy's changed our world for the better. What will he think when he's on his deathbed? I don't know. And when he meets God again, what will be that discussion? I don't know. He's done incredible things that I've never even come close to imagining doing. But for me, having the time and dedication to your family and to your children is the greatest investment that you can make in your life. So, father operating system, here's some pro tips. Short, simple snippets. Dates with your spouse, dates with your kids. So rotating one-on-one dates with those kids, if you can do at least one a week, that would be ideal for me.
You're running out of days in the week over there on your end.
Yeah, well, you can, every day is probably too much, right?
Yeah.
But even if you do one day a week with a kid and one day a week with your spouse, like those are just simple, basic things that you should try and be doing to dedicate the time. And when you do go on those dates, you put the phone away. You might take a picture, right, to create the memory and make it last. But you put the phone away and you give your presence, because that presence is what your kids are going to remember, not necessarily the food or the activity that you did, but that inevitable presence. I think you should limit your time at business events to less than 2, maybe max 3 times a week. If you have business events that are outside of business hours, I would suggest you do only 2 of those a week. So prioritize which ones are most important. This is part of this operating system, right? If you're going to be traveling, and look, obviously this is some jobs you have to travel all the time. You may want to look at a different job, but if that's something you have to absolutely do, then that's on you. But traveling, if you can, not be away from your family for 3 days on a weekly basis, obviously you would want to do that. And on a monthly basis, my goal was to never be away for more than 6 days in a month. That was my hope, is to never be away for 6 days. And if I had to cut a conference short to make sure that I made that time frame, that would be the ideal. And then on the flip side, vacation. You want to be able to, in my opinion, if you can do a staycation every quarter with your spouse, do it. Even if it's just an overnight or somewhere close by, but it's away from the kids, it's one-on-one time, just you two. That would be ideal. And then if you can have at least 1 week-long-ish couples vacation a year, then you got to do it. And you make sacrifices. You don't go out to eat. You don't do the Starbucks. You don't buy the shoes you wanted to buy. You maybe get a slower car, not as fast, in order to afford that week vacation with your spouse. And then add another week vacation with your kids on an annualized basis. If you can do more, by all means, but these are just some of the bare minimum things to be doing. If I'm talking about on a daily basis for your own, talking from a father's perspective, you need time to exercise and get your body in physical fit shape. Discipline can be seen, and those who take care of their body typically means there's some level of discipline in that person. Now, look, I'm not trying to body shame people, but it takes discipline to be physically fit, and it takes effort to do it. I think that is a huge part of our happiness, is that we take care of ourselves through exercise. So whether that's 3 to 5 times a week, you need to be dedicating a minimum of 30 minutes 3 to 5 days a week in rigorous exercise. And for men and women, I would highly recommend some type of weight training, not just cardio all the time. Mm-hmm. Weight training, where you're building muscle, is going to be one of the best things you can do for your body. The right chemicals are going through your body. There's more happiness and joy in your demeanor. People can feel and see a difference when people exercise, and weight training is part of that. However you want to do it, you can do it. I love CrossFit. Some people hate on CrossFit, but I love it. It's great. You need time with God on a daily basis. Look, if you can spare, 15 minutes, talk to God. If you can spare 30 minutes or even an hour, do it. Take time studying his word, and then take time talking to him. This is on a daily basis, to be able to have that time in the word and communicating with your God, your maker, if it's a higher power, whatever. But you need time to sit and to ponder and to talk to him. You can call it prayer, you can call it meditation, whatever you want. These are daily non-negotiables that you have to have, in my opinion. Weekly, you need to be worshiping God again. So on a weekly basis, try and find Sunday's the day for me. To me, that's the Sabbath. You can choose whatever you want, but I choose to worship for at least 2 hours on a Sunday. And that is dedicated time that I'm just worshiping my maker. And I try to make Sunday, the Sabbath, a day that's different than other days of the week. So I'm not going to do the same types of activities that I do. I tend to not exercise on Sunday. That's just my choice. I tend not to go out to eat on Sundays. I tend not to, if I can avoid it, I try not to do travel days on Sundays, but that happens all the time still. But with my kids, they're like, hey, let's go to the theme park. And I'm like, not today, it's a Sunday. And they're like, why? And I want Sundays to be different than any other day of the week. I want us to treat it differently so that they can recognize why we're here and what's the true importance of God's plan for us. So we'll take extra time as a family. We'll go on walks. We'll do hikes. We'll do s'mores on the fire pit. We'll play music together. We can watch, wholesome movies together. We'll spend that quality. We'll go visit people. We will serve other people. We'll go visit neighbors, take them treats, invite them over to our place. Sundays are a special day, and I think it's valuable for all humans to take one day a week and not work, not go do the normal things you do every day, and make it a special, unique day of the week. And to me, it's biblically backed. So you can't go wrong when you're following what's there. Okay, so we've talked about exercise. We've talked about time with God. I think part of the exercise is also eating. What we eat matters. What we're putting into our bodies is what we become, in my opinion. The main difference in my diet that I've changed over the last few years is just is creatine and more protein. And look, I still eat sugar. I still love a donut. But I'm not like pounding candy all day. But protein and those. So these are like parts of this father operating system that's being put together in more of a format that's easily digestible, that people can sit and follow. And the hope is that when especially men are able to see this, we can lead better in the home. And instead of coming home and being exhausted from an all day at work, maybe you didn't get good sleep, you didn't exercise, you didn't connect with God, you get home, you might be frustrated from work, you may take it out on your spouse, you may take it out on your kids, or you just numb out online or scrolling or ESPN and you numb out. That's doing a disservice to the most important aspect of your life. Even though you spent more time per se at work, the most important element, you just gave your least amount of effort in. And the hope with this father operating system is that it will give you a guide and a plan. And as long as you follow that guide and a plan, you can come home, you can lead, you can plan, you can be the one that doesn't rely on your wife to do it all for you when you get home. To me, that is a valuable element that if I could share, I feel compelled to do it, which is why I'm writing the book. So,
well, I believe that, man,
that was my
you
soapbox,
hear
by the way.
people, yeah, and I've had plenty of guests that just say, no, if you're going to build something successful, like you're going to have imbalance in some way, shape, or form. I believe, from what I'm hearing, is that you have a sense of, I will get to where I'm trying to go, not at the expense of the things that are most important to me.
Yeah, and I did. At the expense of my family, I spent at least 5, maybe even 7 years of my career building, grinding.
Okay.
And I look back at that time, and did it help build wealth? Yes. I can't deny that. Working more will typically bring you more wealth. That's what work does if you're doing it right and you're not just messing your time away.
Get after it in your 20s. You know, when there's less at stake, and,
100%.
Try and get after it until you're 35, or something like that.
I think live like I think this is a Dave Ramsey quote. Live like nobody else will for 5-ish years so that you can live like nobody else can the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That 5 years may bleed into 10, given everybody's, circumstances. But if you lived like nobody else will for 5, that means you're not buying the new car, you're not getting the new house, you're not going on the vacation you wanted, you're staying at friends' houses when you travel, you're driving instead of flying, you're eating at out once a month instead of every day, you're brown bagging it, you're you're going to Ross and TJ Maxx.
Lunch, not the bottle.
Or that's right.
Oh, I'm just making sure on that.
Yes, lunch.
Yeah.
Not the bottle for sure. You're avoiding things like alcohol. You're not partying. You're not gambling. You're not spending time scrolling, right? You're not wasting time on video games or even watching ESPN. I hate to say that, but if you want to build and live like nobody else can, if you want extraordinary results, you cannot live an ordinary life. You have to live an extraordinary life to get the extraordinary results. And so why do people expect wealth when you're not willing to make the sacrifices necessary? And when I say sacrifices, that doesn't have to mean your children. It can mean that you don't watch sports. And I'm sure there's dudes that are going to hate me on that. But bro, your wife doesn't like it. Your kids don't love it, right? You don't need to watch sports every night. You don't have to know the highlights of every game. You don't even have to know the names of every player. Unless you own the team, it doesn't matter. And to me, I love sports. I'm an athlete. I love them to pieces. And I'll go to sporting events. I love that.
Yeah.
I will play the sport. I don't watch sports on TV. That's just not me. If it's a Super Bowl, maybe, but even then, I typically don't even watch that because it's on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So it's I just think there are sacrifices. If you find yourself scrolling, look, when I go online, I'm guilty just like anybody. I've scrolled just like anybody. But if you're creating content, then maybe there's a little different reason you're there. If you're trying to produce light into the world, then you can see a reason for doing it. But if you're just wasting your time away, what books are you reading? Are you building yourself? Are you learning new things? Are you playing a game on your phone to distract and numb the time away? Like these are the sacrifices I'm talking about that, look, you can sacrifice and work harder and not exercise. That's a sacrifice. People might say, well, I'm overweight because I spend so much time in my startup. People say that all the time. I was one of them. I didn't exercise very much and I looked the part. And when I realized that that was part of my unhappiness, I knew I needed to take care of myself better. I needed to eat better. I needed to exercise. I would much rather invest in an entrepreneur who has more of a balanced life than just all in, all the time grinding. To me, that's an unhealthy person. And they're not going to have the joy that they need in this life. This is just, again, soapbox moment here. This is me personally. Everybody else can do it their own way. But to me, having a system where we can live an optimal life, not just for building wealth's sake, for ego's sake, to have a name on a building, those things are unnecessary. It's building freedom to do what God wants you to do when he wants you to do it. And if I can do the things with the people I want, when I want, where I want, I think those things combined are really what matters most. Yeah. So anyway, I know not everybody's going to love to hear that.
Well, don't worry about what other people are thinking. What we're looking to do is gain people that are up to stuff, that have created things, and that you have, and what's important to you and why it's important to you. And that's what we're doing. We're not out here polling and, okay, this is, this falls into this category. We want to help people see what's possible. And what I hope people hear from you is that you can have a season of grinding and still be a present father. You can have 8 kids and be an entrepreneur, and you can overcome a loss or a big loss in investing or in a startup or whatever it may be and overcome it. And through physical or spiritual health, you can, continue or find longevity or whatever it may be. And you're the example of that. And I would hope that you're not too worried about what anyone else thinks, because I think
I wouldn't be here if I was, right?
Right.
I wouldn't be sharing this online if I wasn't.
Where can people follow along? Like you talk about this book you're working on.
Yeah.
Where would you send people if they want to see what you're up to and connect with you?
LinkedIn's a great place. Always connect. You can add me on LinkedIn. Instagram is probably where I'm most active. It's just Bubba Page. At both of those locations, you can find me there. BubbaPage.com has like all of my links to everywhere, so you can find it. Yeah. Be on the lookout, because Fatherhood Movement. With this Fatherhood Movement, we're going to have father-son retreats, some girl-dad retreats. Like we're going to go on one.
Yeah.
I just feel like it needs to be expanded outside of just this one location.
It's my favorite week of the year right now, really.
So I'm hoping to bring it to other places in Utah, Arizona, California. Like start to spread those experiences. So that'll all be under the Fatherhood Movement brand. And then we'll talk about fatherhood, the father operating system. Yeah. It's like a fatherhood and entrepreneurship blend. Yeah. Where I hope to help as many fathers as I possibly can.
Yeah. I've got to ask one more question.
Yeah.
I'm just too curious about it. I want your advice on somebody that's in the first 3 years of their business. Yeah. Because you can relate to that from an entrepreneurial mindset. And they've got kids at home. Yeah. More than 2. And a spouse. You've mentioned all the things that are important to you. Give me a quick fire off of what you believe could be a successful schedule. Wake up time, get home time, go to sleep time, and everywhere in between. Fire off the first thing that comes to your mind that someone might be able to go and follow and achieve some of the balance that you're speaking of.
Yeah, you got it. Okay. Young father, young entrepreneur, business owner, could be male or female. 6 a.m. wake up call. I'm not a 4 a.m.er. That's just not realistic for me. So 6 a.m. wake up call, spend time with God, 30 minutes. That's your time. Spend the next 30 minutes exercising. If you could do an hour, that'd be great. But so you've got, let's say 30 minutes with God, putting some time with the Word, and then in meditation or prayer. That's the 30 minutes. 30 minutes exercise, intense exercise, not a walk.
Just get after it. Put the phone down. Get after it.
Yep. Yeah. Don't mess around. Spend 30 minutes. If you do it hard, even if it's body weight, weightlifting would be better, but even if it's body weight, but you do it hard for 30 minutes, we do it all the time in CrossFit, you're going to kill yourself.
Yeah.
And it's great. You should be sweating every single time.
That's 6 to 7.
6 to 7.
What, you're home by 7:30 if you went to a gym or anything like that? Is breakfast with the kids, anything playing?
100% you should have breakfast with the kids.
Okay.
I think that's critically important. I think meals with the kids, if you can do breakfast with the kids and dinner with the kids, it can be a game changer. So if you can spend the 7:30 to 8-ish, 8:30 time frame before you go into work, that would be ideal. If you got to be at work at 8 a.m., I get it. Then spend that 30 minutes.
Bump up, wake up at 5:30, something like that.
Exactly. But you want to have that time, even if it's only 30 minutes in the morning, where you can be the leader in your home. And when I say leader in the home, you're praying over that meal. That's my opinion of being a leader. You maybe even have a discussion about scriptures or a gospel type topic with your children. And if you're not into the Jesus thing, then have a life lesson every single morning. And you can just use ChatGPT, come up with 100 life lessons and teach them. But you have 30 minutes to make an impact on your kids and an impact for good,
to
because
start their day.
They're going to go into the world and the world's going to influence them the way the world wants to. But you are the dad.
Wrap up at 8 or 8:30?
8 or 8:30, get to work.
Okay.
Right? And you're working hard. Try not to be wasting your time away. Lunches, if you're going to lunch because it's a networking thing, try to limit those time frames to an hour. I know it's very easy to spend an hour and a half at lunch because the conversation's flowing, but that limits your time to get work done. So if you can do even 45 minutes and get there and back, that's key. Try to plan your most important activities in the morning. Your brain is fresh, it's active. So I always try to have 3 main core objectives of the day. I may have a list of 100 things that need to get done, but of that day, focus on your top 3. The plan is do your hardest one first. It may bleed into where you only get that hardest one done that day. If it's that hard of a project, a task, whatever, you may not get the other 2. Or you may have to pick it up later and do it. But your 3 tasks will give you direction and guidance of what you should do. Start with the hardest one first. Afternoons, I typically like to do meetings in the afternoons rather than in the morning, because morning is when I'm the most fresh. Meetings don't always end up being as effective. Try and make them as effective as possible, but try to do the meetings afternoon, not in the morning. Be super fresh.
When are you home by?
Okay, ideally you're eating dinner with your family. So some people have to commute. Some people have meetings.
Whatever dinner time is.
Whatever the dinner time is that you and your spouse have agreed upon, and be ready to help. When you get home, don't expect it to be on the table hot and steaming. Get home. If you need to take a breather in the car, so you're driving home, if you had to commute, if you're working from home, take the last 10 minutes of your day, if you're not commuting, and debrief, like what's the right word?
Unwind.
Do an unwind. You have to. You need at least 10 minutes to unwind. Usually I'm connecting with God again. I'm talking about the day. I'm expressing gratitude for the day. And then I'm thinking about the next day, and I'm making a plan of what my next 3 activities, the most important objectives are for the next day, the day before. You may do it late at night. I tend to find it easier for me at the end of the day. So that when I walk in the door, I'm not on a phone call.
Yeah.
I'm not stressed out, freaking out because of the day, because inevitably things happen. I take deep breaths, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds holding, and then breathe out 10 seconds if you can. Breathing in through your nose is typically the best way to do it, breathing out through your mouth. If you need to do that 5 or 10 times, do it. It'll calm and reset your nervous system. Because you want to get into that home, and when your kids come screaming to come at you, or your spouse is pissed off because the kids haven't been acting right, and she's at her wit's end and she wants to tag out, you are at your A game. Because you're going to walk into that household, even if you had a horrible day at work. You can talk about that with your wife later. But even if you've had a really rough day, you're going to come there energized.
Yeah.
You've just reset the nervous system. You're not on a phone call. You're leaving work behind. If you need to put your phone down in a separate place, charging it somewhere so that you're not bombarded by the buzzing that's going off with your emails or texts, do it. because you need to dedicate that time for your family. If you can spend an hour and a half where it's dinner time and bedtime, or it's dinner time, activity, bedtime, like having that time is going to be critically important. So dinner time, you're there rolling up your sleeves, you're getting in there, you're helping to make it, you're helping to clean it. You're not sitting on the couch watching TV.
Yeah.
You're making the meal happen, and you're making sure the meal gets cleaned, and you're getting all the kids to come and help you get that meal cleaned up.
Yeah.
It's not a one-person game who's doing that. Your family is a part. They're all there. They're helping. Even 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds can walk over and set things into a dishwasher, or they can pick something up from a dishwasher and put it into a drawer. Like, we teach them young, right? And do they put it in the wrong spot? Sure. Are they going to drop it on the floor? Sure. But it's teaching.
I was curious how you just balanced all of that. And that wasn't rocket science or wasn't anything.
No.
I love some of the pro tips in there of, man, there's just slow down. Know that you're going into the next meeting. Know it's important. It's impactful. And whatever kind of day you have, reset, get home, be present.
Be present.
I love some of that.
You know, and then if you think about the end of the day, so you need time to connect with your spouse. You need time every day to connect with your spouse. And, you know, we fell into a place where we would, ships in the night, right? Activities, kids, you know, we're driving 8 kids. Like, it's very difficult to not be just ships in the night going all over the place. I'm more of an early to bed. I think going to bed at 10:30 is realistic. 10 is not realistic for me.
Yeah.
11 is more realistic. 11 to 6 gives me 7 hours. That's about what I can do.
Yeah.
Right. And if I could go to bed at 10:30, wake up 5:30, that would be better.
Yeah.
But kids aren't even getting home from activities now until 11 o'clock.
For sure.
You know, so it's hard, right? But 7 hours of sleep is where I try to get. I'm not always successful at it, but I think sleep is incredibly important as your exercise, as important as you're connecting with God. Sleep is critical. As an adult male, 7 hours is what my goal is every time.
Yeah.
Connecting with your spouse, even if it's only for 30 minutes. I know that sounds pitiful, but like, of connective time with your spouse, no kids, just you and your spouse.
Yeah.
You're talking about the day, you're unwinding, let her vent. You create space for your spouse to release the emotions that she needs to release. If you think about it from a masculine, feminine perspective, the masculine needs to be what I would consider a bowl, where we come in and we're solid, we're sturdy, we're emotionally regulated. And the woman, the feminine, is the water. The water can be calm, it can be peaceful, or it can be a raging freaking storm. And the waves can be crashing, and the male, the masculine, needs to be holding space for that storm. And I fell into a place where I would take things personally. When it was raging and things were being blamed, and I took it personally. I got defensive, which means I was acting more feminine in that nature because I was more like water. And where I needed to be was to be able to be rock solid. And I know we're probably over time, but here's just a pro tip. In order for us to be in our truly divine masculine and to have the stability of a bowl for the water to be doing whatever the heck it's going to do, we have healing that needs to take place. Most of us men have not healed the inner workings of our soul. And look, Jesus is the master healer, but also understanding the psychology behind healing and childhood wounding is incredibly important. And I would highly recommend people to read the book Attached to know some of the child wounding that led to our attachment styles that may help you understand your spouse better and understand yourself better. Because if you haven't healed, then you're going to be triggered by some of the things that your spouse does. And when you're triggered, you will inevitably act in a more feminine way because you're releasing emotion in an unregulated state. Whereas a masculine man, you need to be able to be regulated. So if you have to take a minute and go to the bathroom in the middle of an argument to regulate yourself and do the breathing exercise we just talked about, do it. Because it's not okay for us to lose our cool. It's not okay. We have to be the bowl. And I know this sounds unfair, but the feminine has to have a place where the emotions can be released, even if it's at us. And again, not everybody's going to love to hear this, but we have to be in a safe enough place of our own and a healed enough place of our own to not take that dagger personally, to not take that in a defensive way, but to be able to handle that emotion. And your spouse and your children will highly respect that. Where we can release, where we need to release sometimes, is we get together with brothers, and you have a brotherhood, you have a fatherhood movement, where you have a community where you can really discuss and release some of those things. On your own, in the car, if you need to scream, if you need to let it out, I've found that men can find deeper healing if they release this emotion, even if it's through yelling and screaming. Let's say it's in a car alone with no one around, no one seeing this, no one hearing this. After 2 or 3 minutes of you releasing this type of emotion, you'll find that the tears start to come. And that's when men, grown men, tattoos and beards and stashes, whatever you want to say it, muscle men, that's when they start to sob.
Yeah.
And you got, snot all over the place, but that's when true healing can take place, is when you release that emotion. That was a deeper dive than you probably ever wanted to hear.
No, but I was just curious on how you
there.
orchestrate it on a day-to-day basis, and I appreciate you sharing that.
There's a lot there for you.
I look forward to your book, man. I do. I'm serious. I look forward to it, and I appreciate the time, man. I know you just got back from a vacation, and you got all sorts of stuff going on, and I just appreciate you being willing to come and meet here and while I'm in town. I'm looking forward to an awesome weekend. It's going to be great. And I look forward to catching up some more. And hopefully we have some more conversations like this.
Anytime.
Thanks, Bubba.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.
The best time to become an entrepreneur is now. So wherever you are in your phase of life, it's now. Creation is the deeper sense of what an entrepreneur is. You are creating something from scratch. Do I believe God wants us to be successful? 100%. I think he wants us to have abundance and to share and to help others around us. You have to live an extraordinary life to get the extraordinary results. And so why do people expect wealth when you're not willing to make the sacrifices necessary?
There's no way I could add any more kids to this and be successful at building what I'm building and be a good dad and a good leader and grower of business. What are you saying to him?
On your deathbed, what are you going to care about most? The business that you built or the children that you raised? What are you what's really going to matter in your life? Is it the wealth that you created, even for generations of wealth? Or is it the investment into those kids that you brought into this world?